Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Heal Your Heart, Find True Love After Toxic Love, and Be Happier Now virtual conference. Today, we are talking to Helena Hart. She's a certified life and relationship coach with a master's degree in psychology. Helena helps people all over the world effortlessly attract love into their lives, and she can get results for you quickly. Whether you're recently single or you've been single for years, or you're in a relationship that seems to be going nowhere, she can help you inspire the kind of deep attraction and devotion that makes a man fall in love and want you forever. I am so excited. Helena is talking to us today about how to stop attracting the wrong man so you can attract the right one. I am your host, Denise Kavaleskis, and it is my mission to heal your heart and find true love just like I did. I was also in an emotionally abusive relationship for over 20 years and found true love after toxic love. And what lights me up is seeing you heal your heart and find true love after toxic love and be happier now. And that's where the title came from. And this conference was created just for you. I've handpicked each of these experts that knowingly know exactly what you've been through and have the tools to guide you through this time of need. So Helena, I'm honored to have you on here on my panel of experts, and I'm even more excited for you to share your message and your topic about how to stop attracting the wrong man so you can attract the right one. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much, Denise, for that amazing introduction. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. It's super important. It's something I see so many women struggling with. So if I can help anyone out there at all, that's my mission, really, is to help people kind of give them a shortcut so they don't have to make all the same mistakes I did, right?
Yes, thank you. You have such a sweet energy. So I think it would be really awesome if you could share a little bit about your story so that the audience can kind of get a glimpse of, where you come from and what you've been through. And, like you said before, we have similar stories where we've been through like the crap and we came out of it and now we have found true love. So it's so inspiring just to hear this over and over again. So would you share a little bit about that with the audience?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little nervous because I don't talk very much about this before, but I knew when I heard from you, I'd seen you on an interview a few years ago, and I'm like, wow, our stories are pretty similar. And I knew one day I wanted to do videos with you like this because I love your story as well. Yeah. I was always the person that was attracted to, and I would attract emotionally unavailable men. On some level, they had some sort of, they were either like logistically unavailable, they were maybe actually unavailable or geographically unavailable. And I ended up getting married to someone who, after a few years developed a really terrible alcohol addiction. This was before I started my YouTube channel and everything. So not a lot of people know this, but it's something that I started talking about recently. And I know just so many people can relate to that. It's something that isn't very much talked about, but a lot of people actually go through. My father was an alcoholic when I was a small child. I don't really remember that. I mean, he's been sober for over 30 years and we have an amazing relationship now. We're very close. And, he's now in a great marriage to my stepmom. But obviously something affected me where I think he was kind of in recovery when I was like a small child. I don't remember a whole lot of the details. It's pretty fuzzy, but I think it made him a little unavailable, even though he's amazing, did so great. He's been sober for so long, and I know he did that for myself and my sister, and he really got it together, got his whole life together on every level. And I was trying really hard to not marry an alcoholic. Right? I had gone through, I went to grad school. Like you mentioned, I have a master's degree in psychology, and I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't escape the pattern. Things were wonderful for years, and then it just kind of crept in slowly. And then before I knew it, the details are pretty shocking. So I don't know if I want to share everything now. I know we're kind of a limited amount of time today, but it became a really, dangerous situation for me, and I had to get myself out of there. And I did it pretty quickly. And the way things unfolded, everything was kind of in perfect timing now looking back on it. But, he had gotten gotten, into some legal issues related to, his alcoholism. And I just had to get myself out of there, as hard as it was, as embarrassing as it was, only
Mm-hmm.
having been married to him about 2.5 years at that point, especially doing what I'm doing now as a, relationship coach, and had this added pressure of feeling like a fraud. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
out here starting a YouTube channel on how to date and be in your feminine energy, and going through all this stuff. And just kind of like, I took about 2.5 years just working on my own self-love and my own healing. I did counseling and all sorts of things. If anyone's interested, they can email me. I'd be happy to tell them exactly, what I did and who I worked with. And then ended up attracting an amazing partner who I'm with now. But that's sort of the overview of what I've been through the last, 5-7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you and him together with the pictures and the videos, and you're just so in sync with each other. It's so beautiful. I love seeing that. So could you tell the audience, like, what was the first steps that you took when you finally decided, like, can't do this anymore in this relationship, gotta get out? And when you realized, like, I have to start working on me, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, it was, I really felt kind of my own masculine energy taking over and doing some really courageous things, getting myself out of like kind of the last bad situation that luckily I got out before anything too terrible happened, but the potential was there for it to be really, I know I
Absolutely.
went through some traumas associated with it, but I know there's people out there who have been through so much worse things, you being one of them. Luckily I was able to get out before things got too dangerous. But I felt something take over, and I would just like get in the car and drive around, look for a place to live. It's the kind of the logistical things, throwing myself into action, figuring out, health insurance and car stuff
Right.
like that. Right. And then there's the whole inner work, right? So really forgiving myself for not knowing what I didn't know kind of before I lived through it. I
Yeah.
started researching some of the things that had been happening, and I was like, oh my gosh, these things that I thought, like, he had as I know, a lot of alcoholics have a way of kind of making it feel like it's your fault. Right. And so I took a lot of that on without realizing it. So kind of forgiving myself for not knowing what I didn't know until I lived through it. That was the toughest thing, because I found myself really beating myself up. I should have known the signs. I should have caught the red flags, even though everyone in my family, all my friends, pulled me aside and said, if we had seen any red flags, of course we would have told you. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
now, afterwards, I kind of knew what to look out for, but at the time I just really didn't. Like I said, I don't really remember my childhood very much when my father was going through that. And so you just, somehow the universe brought us together, and there was a lot of lessons I learned along the way. And he's a wonderful person, by the way. This is why I don't talk about this very much, is because I know it's a disease that he certainly did not or does not have control over. So I know I definitely didn't have control over it. And so
Right.
it's kind of learning to surrender and not blame yourself and beat yourself up, and take on all the problems of your partner and like immerse yourself in it. It can be so easy to do that without realizing it. So
Yeah.
just like you talk about all the time, with loving yourself, forgiving yourself, and then starting to trust yourself again, so then you can then
Mm-hmm.
attract a man who you trust. That was the journey I went on for about, I would say 2.5 years before I met my current partner.
Yeah, because there is a lot of, so I was just hearing what you were saying, like there's a lot of self-sabotaging that you do to yourself when you leave those relationships. Like you were saying, how could I not see the signs? How could I be,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was like, Denise, how could you be so stupid? Because for me, the signs were there. They were there for a long time. I was
Uh,
also 20 years, you were 2.5, but still there's, how could I not see, I'm a smart, intelligent, strong woman. And then there's the self-criticism talk that goes inside, and then you're judging yourself, right? You're judging yourself for staying in too long. Like I said, I carried a lot of guilt for a long time, guilt that I stayed for so long and my kids saw, blah, 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 blah. And then one other thing that you mentioned that was super powerful was the whole blame game,
mm-hmm.
and how you shift. So how you shift from, because I know I blamed him for everything. I was like, you're the one who cheated, you're the one who lied, you're the one who had the drug addiction, not me. So it's your fault. This was my
Mm-hmm.
mentality. It was your fault that our life was destroyed, that our family was destroyed. So could you share a little bit about that? Like how you shifted out of not blaming him
Yeah.
and into like forgiveness?
I think I initially went that other route and blamed myself, meaning I felt guilty for leaving him at his kind of lowest moment. That was probably like one of the worst parts is like,
Yeah.
but when he was putting me in these, bad situations and then going, I'm not going to get help. He would pull me back in. He would say, oh, I need help, I'm drinking way too much. He'd pull me back in. Of course, I'm like, okay, great. Like, this is it. We're going to get, that happened a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And it, of course, pulled me back in, only to find out later that coincided with things I didn't know about at the time. DUI, assault and battery charge, pretty shocking details, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, who is this person that I'm living with? It was like the most wonderful, loyal, true blue person for years. And then something just turned. It seemingly, something just turned. And so I felt bad leaving at someone who was really struggling, but flat out telling me I'm not going to get help. Basically, he chose that over our relationship, our life. And so in a lot of ways, he kind of left me with no choice. What was I going to do? Stick around with somebody who didn't want to get help for himself? Like, I was at that point where I'm like, I could stay in here and try and keep up appearances, but which was tempting, to be honest, for a little while. But I think things just got so bad that I thought, what my life really feels like to me is so much more important than what it looks like on the outside. Even though this is embarrassing, this is really tough. Like, I have to get myself out of there. So yeah, for kind of leaving someone at their lowest point. How did I do that? That's a great question. I did get counseling. I did work with an amazing therapist. Like I said, if anyone's curious about, who I worked with, I'd be happy to share that with you if you want to send me an email. And just really kind of healing from the traumas of it. It was like, even though nothing really too physically shocking happened, it was traumatic. So I think going in and almost like visiting myself at that period, which was just at the time, a couple years before, and visiting with that person and kind of like being there for that part of myself now, because there was a part of me that was abandoning myself at the time by staying in that situation as long as I did. Even though it was only bad for about 6 or 9 months, I still was beating myself up for not leaving earlier once things started to get bad, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm being clear here.
That totally makes sense. I think that's such a huge point that you just shared, Helena, was abandoning yourself. Because and what I hear, so a lot of the clients that I work with and the women that come to me, and I was too, was the big rescuer. We were talking about that before on the other video, that a lot of empathic people have a big rescuer side to them.
Yeah.
And what I hear is, which is so beautiful, that you decided to not stay in the relationship and try to rescue somebody who was clearly telling you, like, I don't want to be rescued. And you chose yourself as a priority. And the abandoning yourself, that's huge for the audience to hear. That's big.
I think I stuck in as long as I could until after there was like a really bad situation. We're in another country. And then once all that settled, he came to me and said, I'm not getting help. So what was he kind of left me with no choice. And then, that was, to me, it's almost like I'm grateful that he did that. Like, kind of like gave me an opportunity to have a life, have a healthy life, healthy relationship, because that wasn't something he was able to provide. And like I said, he is a really nice, wonderful person. He was a great guy to divorce, as weird as that sounds, because he said, you can't stay in this situation. Like, this is, however I'm dealing with this, I'm not doing it effectively, and I'm putting you in a bad spot over and over. Like, he understood. He's like, I get it. I'll sign whatever you want. Like, so it was a pretty friendly, weird as that sounds, quick process. So I was lucky in a lot of ways, when it came to that.
Yeah, that's great. That is unusual. Yeah, it is. But the part where you were saying, like, the things will get better, I promise. This is something that women commonly hear from the husband or ex that's an alcoholic or on pills or whatever choice of whatever they choose, because it could be porn, it could be anything. That promise that things will get better. I think that's important to touch on for the audience to know, like, when you keep seeing this over and over again, then you have to decide for yourself, like you just shared, like, what is more important here, right? Trying to save somebody who clearly doesn't want to be saved, or save myself, because at the end of the day, that's the only person that you can save.
Yeah.
It's saving yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to choose myself. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to mention, I'm not an expert in this at all. If someone, I did a live stream on my YouTube channel on this experience. Finally, I felt comfortable talking about it. And, a lot of people wanting I wouldn't coach someone who's in this situation because I don't feel equipped. I just don't feel like I'm an expert in this. It's just something I've been through. So, someone wanted to work with me through this, I would definitely refer them out to someone with more experience with this situation, specifically more education and qualifications around that. So definitely not an expert in this. It's just something I lived through, and it's a really common thing. I mean, it was after I did that live stream on my YouTube channel, I was blown away at the emails and hundreds of comments and everything. People have gone through the same thing. So I think it's a really important thing to talk about, even though it's difficult to talk about. I think it's so, so important. Yeah, absolutely. You have to choose yourself.
Yeah.
And in any woman in any situation, you have to choose yourself. If you're caught in the throes of maybe a narcissistic partner, or somebody who's just not able to show up for you and be a good relationship partner, eventually you're going to have to choose yourself. Usually it takes someone kind of getting burned that one last time, and they're like, all right, that's it. Because I know it can be easy to get pulled back in. That pull can be so strong, especially like you said, if you're empathic and you just want to help, right?
Yeah, that's huge right there. Pulled back in. So I get clients or women, both, that my oldest client was 75 years old. She was in 2 marriages to narcissistic men, and the last one was 30 years with this man. So yeah, it's very common. Actually, it's very common. And then my youngest client, she's 24 years old, which I love to talk about her, because 24 years old, like, that's so super young to come to the realization that the relationship that she had been in for 6 years was toxic. And she invested in, the time and energy in herself to learn from that experience, and I tell her all the time, I said, you're one of the women that won't be coming to me or somebody else at age 40, 50, 60, and even 70 years old saying, what am I doing wrong? Because I keep attracting the same type of man over and over. But Helena, I think you are an expert, because you know how to teach the women how to stop attracting the wrong man. I mean, the wrong man is this man.
Yeah, I actually wrote a whole book on that topic, actually, based on what I've gone through. Stop attracting the wrong men so you can attract the right one. I don't do too much private coaching anymore, but on a very, very, very limited basis. I do have a client right now in her 60s. I've had a couple clients in their 60s and 70s. They all say the same thing, like, why don't they teach us in school? Why didn't I learn this 30, 40 years ago? So if we can help somebody who's start off on the right foot and not attract the wrong man in the first place, I think, like I mentioned at the beginning, stop, like, not make all the mistakes that I made, right? That's amazing. That's, even clients and women in their 20s still tell me, I wish I knew this before. So this is all really valuable. Yeah. I know we talked about this in the video we did for my YouTube channel. You said something brilliant. It's that like attracts like. Here's this wounded person, but on some level, there's a wound in us that attracts that person to us. I wholeheartedly believe that. So if you can go in and kind of heal those wounds, you'll start, that will be reflected back to you on the outside right away, like immediately,
Yeah. And that's the thing that I see, that there's no middle ground. So there's the divorce. I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this. I want a new life. And they go out and date, and there's no middle ground for them to heal, so that they don't attract the same person over and over again. They think, which is natural, like, we're human. So we say that didn't work, and I'm going to go out and date and get somebody else. And I know what I don't want. But if you don't do the healing part, then you're just the cycle is just going to repeat itself, because if the past isn't complete, then it'll repeat. So,
So true.
yeah,
So true. Oh my gosh. Yes, I found that for sure. I definitely wanted to take a couple years and heal and work on myself. I mean, I certainly dated here and there, but I knew I was not ready to jump into something serious until I actually did that work on myself. Then once I did, and I felt inspired to check out an online dating site. I heard that inspiration. This is something I've been putting off for over a year. One morning I woke up and nothing could have stopped me. I had just this strong impulse to do it. And then I started communicating with my partner now, Tom, 24 hours later. And then we met up the next weekend after that. And we've just been together ever since. So
I love it.
he is so different than any of the type of men I used to attract, like night and day. And he's just so amazing. But yeah, I definitely made the conscious choice to work on myself. That's another thing too, doing what I do. Would I have been seen as more valuable if I had been, if I jumped in and married the first guy that came along right after? Maybe. I get comments all the time like, what, about that. But again, I didn't care. What my own real life felt like to me was so much more important than what it looked like on the outside. So I just kind of went on this self-love journey for a couple years and just posted videos about what I was doing. And right. And then when I was ready, I followed that inspired action. Right. And then met the most wonderful man.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hear a lot of when you're talking, a lot of divine timing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the universe
Totally.
just totally lined everything up for you in just such perfect, beautiful timing that, thank God you didn't waste 20 years on that relationship and all of that. So I think that's so amazing and beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, I think you're definitely right. Now that you mention it, yeah, absolutely. Even though during those couple years when I was on I mean, it's not easy, you second guess yourself sometimes, but yeah, once I decided to choose myself, it was like, it was just the best decision I ever made for myself. So I really encourage all the women out there to do that, to make that choice, take that step into the unknown, because there's just someone out there for you that is so perfect, right? Just the perfect counterpart who would never put you in a compromising situation, whatever it is you're experiencing right now.
I think that's the biggest thing that I'm hearing right now, Helena, but I am going to ask you, what is your takeaway? But what I'm hearing is, and I always say this, like, make yourself a priority. The biggest thing for me when I left my relationship was I finally stepped out of taking care of everybody else and what they needed. And I started to focus on Denise, what I needed in the moment. And that's when things started to quickly shift. I started to enjoy life and do things. But the audience wants to hear from you. What is your biggest takeaway, or what's final words or some words of wisdom for
I
them?
love what you said. Oh my gosh. Something I talk about in that, I said it right. We started, let's not plug that book. It's not really important, but now I'm like actually quoting from it. Something I talk about in that book, Stop Attracting the Wrong Men So You Can Attract the Right One, is you attract a mirror image of your own masculine energy as a woman. So what you said that was so beautiful is like, when you choose yourself, when you prioritize yourself and you take care of yourself and you feel safe within yourself, then you attract that on the outside in the men that you're meeting and attracting, or, in your partner, if you're in a new relationship and he's the right one, right? If you are not prioritizing yourself, valuing yourself, if you're abandoning yourself, you're going to attract and be attracted to men who will abandon you. If you are hard on yourself, you're self-critical, you're going to attract men who just make you feel like you're not quite good enough. I've just seen it happen across the board. If you're not committing to yourself, you will attract men who don't want to commit to you, right? It's just all encompassing. So super important. I love what you said, and I totally agree. You're attracting a mirror image of something going on within yourself. And so it can be so easy just to say, oh, well, all men are flaky or commitment phobes or liars. But I like what you said in our video, you're the common denominator. And it's just not true that all men are like that. That's just what you're attracting or seeing out there in the world, because maybe there's a part of yourself that you're stuffing down and not wanting to face. So if you have a side of yourself that's deeply angry or full of rage, but you're kind of sitting on it and stuffing it down, you don't want to face that part. You're going to attract it on the outside. So you can kind of love that part of yourself and hate that part of yourself out there in someone else. It's so interesting. We could do millions of videos just on that one topic, but that's kind of my last words of wisdom. It's all a reflection of what's going on with you. And that's not an opportunity to beat yourself up. It's an opportunity to empower yourself. And now you have this awareness. This was going on anyway, but now you have this awareness. So you can make some shifts within yourself and just immediately start attracting a totally different kind of man. So that's what my work is all about.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I know you have a gift for the audience. Could you share with us a little bit about your gift that you're offering them?
Yeah, so that's my 3 keys to attract the man you want report and audio training. It's free on my website, helenahartcoaching.com. I'm sure you'll include a link. And that's, if you are at this place, you want to start off on the right foot. This will help you attract the right man for you, right? It goes into some of your subconscious drives. Like, do you tend to put a man on a pedestal and want to help him or prove yourself to him? There's all kinds of things that could be going on, but this will help you attract that right partner. Or if you're in a healthy relationship, it'll help, bring him closer than ever and just really deepen the intimacy between the two of you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your energy and your amazing message. It's been an honor to have you as a guest, Helena, to the Heal Your Heart, Find True Love After Toxic Love, and Be Happier Now conference. And to you, the audience, thank you for being here and investing this time. This is your first step into making yourself a priority, right? Right here. You're doing it. So you're so worth it. Take advantage of Helena's gift, and I will see you on the next interview.